sacrifice or an offering, and what we pay will be weighed when we meet our judgment day. So keep it light as a feather and fly away.
Greetings, everyone. All right, my name is Cary Junior. I'm General Manager of Southeast Michigan Producers Association, otherwise known as SEMPA, and I'd like to welcome you to my presentation regarding food and agriculture for the Black Sustainability Summit, entitled Our Strategy to Revive Reviving Healthy Neighborhoods Through Local Food Systems. Okay. Okay, just starting off in general, our conversation, we talk about farms. These are farm system facts most people are not really aware of. I want to make you aware of as we talk about this. 9% of the U.S. population controls 66% of the farmland. 2% of the U.S. population are farmers. There was 25% back in 1933. 1933, there was even less amount of black farmers back then. 2.8 million farms are making less than $50,000 in revenue a year, and actually 4 corporations control 69% of the U.S. corn market and 79% of the beef packing industry. And also 6 corporations control 50% of the U.S. retail food sales. But then all of that, small businesses sustain the U.S. economy, which is really the guts of the U.S. economy. But the big businesses, because of their influences, they control everything. Now here's a picture, rough pictures of the food and agriculture economy. The world economy, food economy, is $5 trillion. The U.S. economy is $840 billion. Now, when you do research and you break it up almost per person, the food economy produced by an individual is $530 a month. And what I'm showing you there are pretty much where we as individuals spend our money. On the left there, I'll show you most of the grocery stores and markets and that thing. In the middle is the fast food and restaurants, I guess in the right as well. A lot of these symbols you should be very familiar with. Again, these are typical of the industry, food industry businesses for which we as people spend all our money. But keep in mind that $530 a month is how much that everybody spends. Now, on this chart, this is your food economy. These are 10 companies that pretty much control the world food system. These 10 companies pretty much control every food item that you can think of. If you go to a grocery store, I guarantee you're probably going to find one of these labels, one of these brands that you've seen before that are part of the food system. Again, there are 10 companies, 5 of them in the U.S. Like I said, and I mean, of course, none of them are owned or controlled by people of color. But again, these are the people that control pretty much what happens with food, particularly here in our communities. And with those companies I showed you, this is what we call the industrial food complex food system. Our food pretty much starts in production, goes through processing to end users. And again, I'm showing you the labels or brands of the companies pretty much that control it. On the production side, a lot of people know ADM, and of course Tyson, because we're specifically talking about chicken. The ones in the middle are the ones that either work with or own processing systems. And again, you're familiar with these companies: Cisco, GFS, US Food, and ConAgra. These are examples. There are a few others. And then, of course, on the ones on the right are the marketing. The markets. And those are you're probably very familiar with, depending on what region you're in. These stores pretty much control where we pretty much go get our food. Now, going back and we're talking about sustainability as a community, particularly economic sustainability. What I'll show you there on on the left side are the essential human essentials that are needed to live. That's food, water, air, shelter, sleep, and relationships and clothing. On the right, okay, are these say we would say the second phase of essentials, which is healthcare, sanitation, education, energy, transportation, and recreation. Everybody is everybody here, particularly in the U.S., is impacted by all of that. Everything on the left, I don't care where you are in the world, you either have to have that, or like I said, you're impacted by that. Now, what I'm trying to show you on this thing is that pretty much those things that are in demand and are needed somehow or someone is trying to control how you get it and to make money from doing it. All the stuff I'm showing you in the bold, as you can say, I call it commoditization, where you could get it as being produced, but somehow you have to pay for it. Whereas things like the sleep and the relationship you see in a talent is something that your body needs. That's just all about how you as a human needs to be able to function. But of course, everybody knows about food, water, air, shelter, and clothing. Now, the other piece of this is, I guess, the other items on here is that, again, how can you control it? Where, in a sense, the things I show in the asterisk, we, in a sense, will probably never be able to control that because you're going to need a major infrastructure system in order to put that in place. However, the ones I show you with the little cross, those are things that you can probably potentially control. Now, again, if you can get control of all of these items, you can control your system, you can control your community, and you can be sustainable. But in the sense of we as people trying to regain sustainability of ourselves, what I'm saying is there are some things that are practical we can go for, look for, there are some things that are not. For example, if we had a sustainable community in Maryland, and if we had a sustainable community in Oklahoma, see, we could not compete. I mean, we cannot put together a transportation system that would go in between them. Now, it's possible we can do our own energy, where with getting off the grid, you can possibly do that. That's why I'm saying there's some things in potential you can. But the point I'm making is these are the essential items that if you look at that make us function as people that you have to have. That somehow or another that again it involves economy. And if we want to be sustainable, we have to be able to understand what they are and how they can get them to work for us. Now let's talk about the black dollar. Now what I'm showing you here is just pretty much charts for some research on how much money is spent on with average black households. On the left, I showed you those essential things in the previous chart. But if you look on the chart on the blue line, they're showing you where we spend most of our money. And if you look at some of those things that we talked about, that's where we're spending, and that's to give you some indication of how we spend money. And I think that's where we spend money. That's where the demand is. If we talk about economics, we need to figure out how to recapture that. On the right, I mean, I guess these are things you heard before. They talk about how much money circulates in our communities, and as you heard in our community, unfortunately, we do not do a good job of doing that. On our chart I showed you in the top, it shows you that in an Asian community, that the dollar spends around is 28 days. In the Jewish community, a dollar goes around 20 days. In the white community, it goes around 17 days. But in the African American community, it goes around 6 hours. So again, so I said we have to get better understanding of how we spend our dollars, and that's the only way we'll be able to build economies to be able to support ourselves. But that's something you heard. I don't know if you heard it before, but I wanted to put it so we can see what it is. And then the thing, the chart below, it just talks about if you're going to spend your money, this is what kind of impact you can have. You can get more. You can spend more money. You can give us more value. It says how much of your $100 purchase stays in the community. When you spend it in an independent store, if you can see, it shows it's a greater dollar goes through, particularly if an independent store owned by someone in the community. If you do it in an in-town chain chain or outlet is one thing. If you do it a remote online store, you see it's almost nothing. And when I would venture to say, so if you're a Walmart falls in between the in-town chain outlet and an online remote store, because even though you may have stores, there are very few of them in the community. Of course, because they're not owned by us, those dollars are still being extracted from the community. And that's one thing that people understand. The key word is extraction. Now, going to more specifics in the food, I just want to. This is a research showing you exactly how much money is being spent. They call it the multicultural dollar. That's because this includes the African American, the Hispanic, and Asian community, and other communities, which is roughly again 30% of the population. So think about it. If you're 30% of the population, you should be creating 30% of the gross domestic product or GDP, if you heard. So in other words, like I said, if $30 million is being spent, then $30 million somehow, should come back in our community. What this shows here are the three particular categories of food that are being spent. And if you look at like the first one, the dried vegetables and grains, it says we spend, I said we, 30% more, we spent 472 million or 50% of the GDP for that product. Keep in mind, we're only 30% of the population. So if you're spending 50% and you're only 30% of the population, that's a surplus of 20% that's going to somebody else's community. That you have 30% that should be going to our community anyway, and it isn't, but it's going out. Same thing, you look at baby food, that's 42% as opposed to being 30% of our population. We're spending 42% on baby food. And of course, it says juice and drinks with 37%, which almost falls in line being of 30% of the population. So again, I'm giving some idea of the power of dollar, and again, if we were spending it with ourselves, what kind of impact we can have. Now, in this chart, I wanted to show you, it breaks down even more of the foods. As you can see, again, we are Black American, 14% of the population. We spend $1.2 trillion a year. But if you look up to the right, again, the percentage of what we spend versus what we are the population. We're 14% of the population. We're spending 17% on frozen foods, another 17% on refrigerated foods. Again, if she's 16 to 16. Now, the bottled water and the shortening oil is really kind of falling in the area. But the point I'm making is, if we're spending a percentage of it that's more than what we are as a population, then we need to look at seriously what we can do to try to recapture that money back in our community with our own businesses. Now, the last from the bottom, you also be very familiar with, and it should really show you, and it really should shock you. Of the whole ethnic beauty aids industry, 63.5 million, we are spending 86% of that. 86% of the money of that population has been spent in our population. Keep in mind, we're only 15% of the population, but we're buying 85% of that. Now, if anything in the world, we should be owning and controlling the businesses in that particular industry. And again, I want to show you how economics work. And I guess a lot of us are very familiar. Yeah, we have barber shops. Yeah, but we don't have barber supplies. We don't make the products. And if you may recall back about, maybe some of you don't recall, 20, 30 years ago, we had black-owned hair care product companies. Matter of fact, there were 4, and they were doing very well. But normally what happens when they had bought out because they were doing so well, and the bigger major companies saw the black community market, so they bought them out. And that's what happens everywhere, so it's no big deal. But when they bought them out, again, we lost kind of control of that money now doesn't go in our community. Even though they may hire some of us to work for them, but we still aren't manufacturing the products. They're probably done overseas. But the point I'm making is we have to figure out how to create our own products, how we need to make our own products, how we need to distribute, and how we need to sell them to our own community. So the money can go back, and we can create a lot more for ourselves instead of making everybody else wealthy. Now I'm going to get back on the food piece, food chain. Now I just wanted to make a definition, so you're going to hear me talk about a food value chain, or you may hear about a food system, and I just wanted to define it. What it is a strategic alliances between producers, processors, distributors, outlet retailers, and consumers that benefit all involved. Now, again, we talk about a food value chain system, and when they talk about it, for as far as the company, yes, it does benefit the majority, but it does not, has not, in my opinion, benefited us. I mean, I mean, the whole idea is that when you talk about creating a food value chain, in my opinion, I mean, we should be able to create our own because we are producers. We can process, distribute. We've all got experience in all these areas, and the bottom line is we have to eat. So somebody has to create that for someone, and what we need to wake up and start allowing everybody else, other people to create it for us. So I just wanted to define that so everybody can see what that is. So because you're gonna hear me talk about it more as we go on. Now, Now, this is the proposed food value chain that I'm proposing that we need to create. Again, it's already out there. It's just that we've never put the pieces together. And again, the food value chain, just like when I showed you with the major corporations, there's only three major parts. It's the production piece, if the food is a food hub or the distribution, the place where the packing, distribution, and logistics. Then you have the end users and the buyers, which again, like I said, it's the farmers market, grocery stores, restaurants, the things that you probably we see day to day. Now, again, production is having our farmers grow our own product, whether it's in the rural areas or in the urban areas. Again, getting that product and harvesting it, taking it to a food processing place where it can be sorted, packaged, washed, rinsed, and packaged and distributed, whether it's going to restaurants, whether it's going to stores or what have you. And then from there we distribute it and we need to send them to these outlets. And my thing is, and we need to be able to control those outlets to get some outlets out, so put stores back in our neighborhoods and restaurants, things of the sort. And again, we have restaurants out there now, but I guarantee you, think about their value chain. They probably only buying products from somebody else, and they only know, and they sell them products to consumers, so they only own a small piece of their chain. In my opinion, you have to be able to control this chain if you really want to have an economic impact in our community. Even though I'm showing you the three major pieces of it, you have to be able to control at least two of them. Make why my thing is we need to control at least a small percentage of the third. That's the only way we're going to be able to succeed in trying to in building an economy within our communities. Keep in mind the bottom line: food is an anchor. Everybody has to eat. So regardless of what you're doing, people are going to buy food somewhere. And if you're going around now watching the COVID, look at all the long lines at all these drive-through, all the restaurants, because again, people stand in line to eat, whether it's good food or not. And that's what I'm saying. That's an issue we need to try to address among ourselves. Now, who are we? Simple. Again, simply we are a rural black farmer cooperative attempting to provide fresh produce to food insecure neighborhoods, which is our communities, rural and urban, while improving the viability of our member operations, which are small farmers. We intend to improve healthy food access through farm stands, storefronts, restaurants, food trucks, and other markets, while servicing large institutions where possible in the Detroit area. Again, the way we're trying to do that is through our strategy is doing it through producer training the farmers. Again, getting rural and urban farmers to work together through a collaboration. Again, educating our community on healthy food, the purpose of healthy food, and then being aware of what they should be eating, and then actually helping create entrepreneurs, what I call them food and entrepreneur opportunities, whether it's restaurants, any kind of food, healthy food business that we find that we need. Now, again, a little more detail about us. Again, we are composed by rural producers. We were organized, like I said, back in June of 2013. We reorganized as a cooperative in February of 2018. Again, we have a potential of 40 producers. And what I mean by that, I don't. Anytime we deal with organizations, we're dealing with people, our people, and I keep saying our people, like people. There's always a trust thing. And unfortunately, prior to us, there was an organization, I guess, to try to work to organize farmers, and because there were some unsuccessful attempts, and again, I don't know a lot of details, but a lot of those farmers did not organize with them. They did not organize with them. I came along again, giving a quick history. I started a farmers market in my little neighborhood outside of Detroit, and then somebody asked me and said, "Were we sourcing black farmers?" Now, again, I'm originally from down south, and I assume all black farmers down south. Did some research with a colleague of mine, found out there were black farmers in this rural area, and I was just astonished. I was amazed how many of them were out there. And most of these gentlemen, of course, like most of us, migrated from down south, and they just brought their skills and talents here to work. I mean, while they worked in the plants, they still grew food. But again, when it came to trying to actually grow food, trying to sell stuff to the market, or trying to get to restaurants, it was a little more challenging. Yes, one, because they were black farmers. Two, maybe that wasn't their particular area. They just wanted to grow the product because they loved doing it, but never necessarily went through the whole marketing thing. And that's sort of kind of where we come around. Now, the other part of it is, again, like I said, we have maybe a core of 7 to 8 farmers, particularly on our board. But there are a lot of them. They're when we have meetings and stuff, they come, but they don't necessarily stumble because they wait. Everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen. But what I'm showing is we have potential. We have a potential of 40 different farmers out there growing all kinds of stuff, and even some with livestock. And with that sort of kind of with a wait and see attitude. So we're trying to put things in place to get them more involved and encouraged to get involved. the other the other thing I said challenge we have is that you see the average age in our cooperative is 70 years old. Again, these are all gentlemen who worked in the plants, worked at the post office, the government, whatever, did on the side. But now they're doing farming full time. They're doing on their acreage, and they got a lot of acreage. But they're getting older. The children don't want to take it over. So they're sitting there. Some of them sitting on idle land right now. Unfortunately, we lost a couple of them during COVID. So we're trying to figure out how they can maintain that and hold that land either to grow for us, or try to get the family interested, or just trying to keep it in the hands of black folks. Because there's a huge demand of scooping up land wherever they can, and I'm sure you've heard about that going on across the country, particularly in the South. So again, like I said, working with those farmers is a challenge because I said they lack interest in innovation. Most of the farmers I have, none of them have an email address. They all use flip phones. So iPhones and Android were out the question. So already that's my challenge communicating with them. Of course, lack of the interest in working USDA, because again, the history of the USDA with black farmers. So that's why they don't trust them, and they wanted to have anything to do with them. And then, like I said, no succession plan. The children didn't want to take over. They never talked to them about it. So if they pass away or whatever it is, the land either gets sold or goes into foreclosure, et cetera, et cetera. So we're trying to uh, prevent that from happening, and put all that land back into production some kind of way so we can keep them going. Now, that's on the rural side. On the urban side, we've been identifying a lot of urban producers. One of our partners or collaborators, and I'll mention in a minute, they've been educating farmers in the city, trying to get people to understand the purpose of growing your own food. And so they've had training classes, and people have actually gone and tried to learn how to grow. But then the problem they had is one or two things. One, they didn't have access to land. Again, you're in a city, it's a little bit different situation. Buying land, he couldn't get it, or some of they got it was contaminated, so they had to deal with that whole issue. Um, and then, like I said, even if they're growing urban, if they're not growing enough, if we're talking about making farmers to make money, they didn't have enough capacity to do that. So what we're trying to do is get them to understand, again, like with our older farmers, even though they have 50, 100 acres, trying to get them to work together, trying to get the smaller farmers, the smaller producers to work together. Whether it is even more critical because, again, like I said, if they want to try to make money doing this stuff, they're going to have to be able to find a way to work together and find a particular client. And then if you got a demand for something, you got to be able to bring a lot of it. You can't just come in with 2 or 3 little pots full of things and think that's going to work. So again, with all these challenges we have, we knew what we were trying to do. So we're trying to get through our organization to get this piece together. And if you remember, I showed you the 3 phases, the production, processing. This right here will help us get our core production piece up and running. Now I mentioned that collaborative partners. We've been very fortunate. I'm showing you here of several organizations in Detroit that we have really been working with to try to get something going with. Mostly the primary urban farmers. You see the Women Who Love to Grow, who actually was formerly Michigan Association of Women in Agriculture. There's a lot of young sisters out here that have been out here and excited about trying to grow. We've been collaborating with them for some time, and now we're very fortunate about having this thing moving. Again, the Urban Farm Development Manager is another colleague that came on board. A great story of a brother just turned his life around and making a difference now and understanding soil and want to teach others. Criterion Farm, again, the brother's been around a while, who's organized, and as you can see, I got a picture of them on there. They're in the urban area as well. And then Bandage Ranch is actually sort of a new group. They are probably more of a livestock. Again, another incredible story of brothers who changing their life around and make a difference. So what we sort of kind of put ourselves together to try to work to collaborate. They understand the challenges we have, and they want to figure out what we can take to make all of us do better. I like the diversity we have in our groups here, and like I said, and we look forward to doing a whole lot. Now, I will make a note: there are other urban farm groups in the Detroit area. Matter of fact, if you know, when they have food access, there've been a ton of people popped up and showed up trying to do urban farming in Detroit. So what I'm saying is this group particularly I'm working with, our direction, what we're trying, our objectives is a little bit different from the others. But I'm hoping somewhere on the line that we can get them on board as a to work with us, to partner with us on projects and things of that sort. The other thing I want to mention is two areas I want to make sure people clarify on. There's a difference between a garden, an urban or community garden, and an urban farm. A community garden or backyard garden's primary purpose is just to grow, to learn, and then give the food away. An urban farm, again, is to grow so we can sell. The whole idea is with the urban farm, we're trying to create, or any of the farms, we're trying to create entrepreneurs. We're trying to create a business where people can make money for the work and effort they're doing. The community garden's purpose is to educate, at least for children, understand where actually their food comes from, or people in general, where their food comes from. And I tell people there's always you got to be careful. We got to be understand the clarification. Most of the organization coming to your city, particularly of the other people, they're coming in and want to put in community gardens. And we need to do farms. I mean, because the gardens are just there to help. But if you want to empower people to be able to take care of themselves, the farm the route to go. The other thing too is you're gonna hear me talk about is food banks. Again, it's another issue where you're getting food from and again, don't get me wrong, in our communities we need to have people need to eat, but all you're doing pretty much in there, you're getting the food that the major corporations either couldn't sell or trying to get rid of, and they donate it to these nonprofit food banks. Again, not controlled by, and those food banks just turn around and give it to our community. So my problem is we got to get this mindset of our community. People are going to give you stuff. Anything that's worth something all the time, you got to work and earn it. So again, I'm not standing against those, but we won't be working. We won't be working with food banks or I guess some of these community gardens. I mean, those aren't our emphasis. I mean, we can help people, we can assist in teach them if they want to, but our folks are trying to get urban farms. What I wanted to show you I guess the geography. This is a map of the city of Detroit. Again, we talk about food access. This was the map that was put together. It talks about grocery stores, and the thing I want you to see on this when they talk about food access was they try to talk about what's there. Now, it's ironic. The red actually means it's supposed to be food service. If you see the little white dot, those are supposed to be, they use the term, they're grocery stores. And most of those grocery stores are independently owned. They're owned by the people in the community, the Arab community, because we pretty much walked away from of trying to own and run stores like this. So anyway, all these stores in the communities, and I can tell you more than other, they're not providing you the high quality food that the one we normally have. Now, up until a while, the city of Detroit did not have any major food stores. But now we have one Whole Food, which is downtown, ironically in the gentrified area. And then we have a regional store that moved in. They have 3 locations in the city of Detroit, and I keep telling people, I mean, they just moved in the last 5, 6 years, and the only reason any of those stores are there, they were they were probably totally subsidized either by USDA in the state to come into the community. Even though most of us know that we spend, just like I showed you in that chart, we spend a lot more money for food, particularly quality food, than everybody else. But these same stores feel they do not have to put a store in your neighborhood and hire people in our community. They can put them in the suburbs, and unfortunately, that's what we end up doing, having to go out our community to buy good food. Again, that's what we call extraction, which is a major problem in the city of Detroit. And so much money, all the money being the city people create, it goes out in a major distraction, and it's never talked about because the powers that be know what's going on. But my thing is to make this aware of people in our community what's going on, so we can be a little more knowledgeable, and again, we can be more conscious of how we spend our money. Again, like I said, no major change were in the city up until recently. And again, in those stores, and I hate to, unfortunately to say, even those stores are there, the quality of the stuff they serve. I go to those stores and I compare it to the stores, their same stores in the suburbs. They don't give you the same variety. The customer service is not the same. And again, we have to start being demand. We have to demand what we want, what we need, and to stop. I guess my thing is you have to go see what other people are doing, what they have, and try to figure out why you don't have it. But anyway, so that's my take on that. Now the other thing is your other favorite store, Walmart. Now I can show this is a perfect example. Walmart has no stores in the city of Detroit. However, Walmart takes a bus, and every day of the week it stops at senior citizen complexes, pick up the people, take them 10 miles out the city to the closest Walmart for them to shop, and bring them back. Now that's not, and nobody said anything about it. That to me, that's totally absurd. That's what greatest example of extraction you can have is just what Walmart's doing. And I just think that's the kind of thing we have to stop. Now, again, our seniors, for them, I understand they want to get out. There's a bus ride out in the community, go shop and find some things they want. But I'm saying, but from an economic standpoint, that just even makes our situation even more dire, because we're not uh, empowering ourselves. We're feeding, we're continuing to feed everybody else, and that's a mentality, I guess, that we picked up because we aren't aware of what I call the powers that be are doing. Now, now I'm going to get to let's get to the Bronco back what we are. This is the chart again. I go back to, if you remember, we talked about the food system of what we are doing, what Simple is doing. Again, I show you the production. We got the urban and the rural boxes on the left. You see the processing in the middle. We're in the process of putting projects in place to get this going. We don't have all the stuff in place yet. We got all the pieces, we got the ideas, but we, of course, like anybody else, need a little bit of money and trying to get the location. And we're trying to do this thing very quietly. I'm amazed at the politics that are going on behind when you start talking about food access, because other people who are making money right now and doing what they're doing, they're not going to want us to succeed in what we're doing, because what we're trying to do is to tell people, empower ourselves. Let's use our own people to help our own people to get things going. So anyway, but this is I call this our master plan, so you can give you an idea of what we're trying to do. And again, it's very simple. You got the production piece, you got the processing in the middle. We want to create a food hub that does all those things, and then you have the the things on the right. Now, you see all these boxes, but I want you to think of those boxes as entrepreneurs. You look at those boxes as separate businesses. Again, we're not trying to do all of it, but we're trying to find a way to tie everybody into an umbrella to work in a network. That way, that those businesses can help. I think they can survive. The risk is minimized because they have a team that's working with them. They'll know where the food is coming from. They know they're going to be servicing these neighborhoods that we know they don't have what they need to have. And they know also, again, like I said, with our whole processing thing, that we're going to make sure that they get the best that we're going to have. And again, also with that, even outside of this, we may even have markets of people who might want to buy product outside of our little network. But that's okay. Again, that's bringing money back in our community. But the bottom line is we have to try to do what we can work with each other, and we want to try to set example. But these are all the pieces that we need, and we're going to move forward and try to create what we have to. But if we find people that are doing it already, that can help us, that want to be part of this thing, we want to bring them involved because the more people are married. You can't do everything, and that's what we have to understand. And even our other communities, they know they can't do everything. Everybody has their role in the team, but the team works together, and the team succeeds as a whole. We keep thinking that we can do stuff on our own by ourselves, and that's never going to work because you're never going to control the whole value chain, and you're going to always keep relying on the same people who putting you in the spot that you're in now. So anyway, so again, you look at these boxes, it's showing you. You can look at them as businesses, but at the same time, if they're not business, think about the opportunity that you're going to provide. This is from our standpoint. When you create those boxes, these are the I call the jobs or the entrepreneurial spots that you create. All of these things are created just because you're creating a food system, and that's what I'm saying. When we work together, all of this stuff can work. You would have to go out. We have to go out and hire, and we're going to go out and train these people. If we don't already find people who are already experienced in these areas, and we have people already working in these areas in the corporate world now. So the whole idea is to create these opportunities. These are jobs that we can keep in our neighborhood, to produce our businesses, and again, building sustainability among ourselves. That's what these jobs. I call them. These are jobs, but I'm looking at the overall the opportunities. So that's again going to objective. You saw the chart before. Now you see this is what we can create. Now, I just want to show you these right now are our project partners. Again, we've been fortunate enough to figure out how to get some funding to create some of our projects. And at the same time, we're trying to work to, again, the USDA, as you know, because of the history, they're trying to reach out and do the best they can to help organizations, particularly farmers of color, to get engaged with them and take advantage of the funds. Well, fortunate enough, we've been able to figure out how some of that works, and now we created partners with them, and that's what those four. You see USDA, Office of Partnership and Public Engagement, NRCS, Farm Service Agency, and NIFA. And I'm very excited to know we've been able, and I guess in the North Central Extension Risk Management as well. Very excited that we have been able to. I'm going to use the term. Uh, Finally break that barrier to understand how to work with these groups, and I'm hoping we can have a long term. And again, we're not saying we're trying to be um, exclusively dependent on them. But my understanding with grant things, that's supposed to help you get a good jump start. And I think with this program they have, what we have with them now, we got support from them at least for the next couple of years, which is going to really help us get where we want to go in the network I just showed you. And in different parts, not every piece, but in different parts. Then the other piece you see up there is Central State. To me, I was imperative that we need to get engaged with the 1890 Land Grant Institution. If you know 1890 Land Grant Institution, we can talk about it in more detail later. Central State down in Ohio, that's the closest one to us. They're pretty much the black colleges that were designated land grants by the government. Unfortunately, Central State got their designation not too long ago. The reason they're called 1890, quick history, after the Civil War, government said we want to have one school in every state that that can teach people about agriculture and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why he had all these schools to A&M or A&T or whatever. So they designated each state, but then of course the southern state said, "Oh, we got to designate, but we don't want black people to go. We're not going to let black folks in." So they had to go back. That was in 1862. So then they came back and created 1890 schools for black colleges. So in every southern state, in Ohio is actually the only non-southern state that they designated a school there. So if there's the schools, the A&M and A&T, that's what they were. They were designated to teach black students in the schools where the southern white schools wouldn't go to. So to me it's imperative that we try to work with those schools to collaborate on our agriculture, on a lot of things that we work on when it comes to food, because they have access to the resources. We got to figure out how they can work together and figure out how to get them. Now this is our again. I showed you this is my plan. I mean the vision we have, and I got it in three different pieces. The first piece you see is the hub, and if you remember on the chart, I showed you the processing thing, and that's what that pretty much what that box is. I showed you the processing in the middle of the food system piece. That's pretty much what that is. Depending on where it is and where we are, we try to we're going to try to modify what's in it. Uh, the thing below, I call it our innovation center. We look forward to trying to get a facility where we can do all the education classes and do research and teach people, and then maybe have offices for all the small businesses that are part of our network. So that's why I call that an ag innovation center. That's why it's a different color box. Then on the right, I call it the marketplace district. The whole idea there is to create these businesses, and my idea is to create the concept that you got a marketplace. Now everybody's very familiar how a mall works, but you got to understand from an economic thing, a mall was only developed only after they got the 4 anchor stores. You had to have the Macy's, you had to have the Target or whatever. Once that developer got those 3 or 4 anchor stores, that's when they were able to create the mall for the rest of the stores. Our approach here is every food is going to be the essential anchor, whatever it is. So our anchor is going to be a produce market, you know, and hopefully we can put restaurants by and everything else. And you see, I got a list here of all the essential businesses that we need in our community. So the whole idea is if you create something, a place, something that we need, going back to the human essentials I was telling you about, um, you can create a space where you can put all these businesses. Now, again, me working on my mother has a developer standpoint, you either get one big facility or even try to get like one, like a street corridor. But the whole idea is, and depending on where you are, it works differently every place. You don't have to have everything in here. You can have different things in there, but the main thing you got to have the food piece. And the whole think about it this way: you have a nice produce market in there. You have restaurants. Those restaurants have to buy their food product from that store. That's how you keep things going, and they work. They work together in that standpoint. And then you have other little essential businesses that like a spring off there that people have. And these are the things you'll find in any other suburban neighborhood or any upscale neighborhood. They have the same stuff. They have it all together. All I'm saying is we're going to do the same thing, but we're just trying to put it back in our community, in our neighborhood where it's supposed to be, so we can support ourselves. Now, this map I'm showing you is this again, as we do our vision with all the things I've just shared with you, with the hubs and all that kind of stuff. These are the areas in Michigan that we're sort of kind of looking at targeting. Now, if you're down the far right, you see Simpa, and then that's sort of the one of the yellow star of Detroit. Incidentally, Simpa, we are the only official black cooperative in the state of Michigan. Now, on the left down there, you see Farmers on the Move. They are the only Latino or Hispanic farm cooperative in Michigan. And because we know each other, we're trying to work together on several things. We're trying to see if we can collaborate. But the key is, as I told you about the food access in Detroit and all these other urban cities, those yellow stars you see are cities in Michigan with minority majority population. In other words, they're majority black populations. In all those cities, majority populations do not have major stores located in them. So it's the same issue that I talked about in Detroit that we want to be able to service these communities as well. We know the demand is there. Our dream is to create that hub I told you we're proposing in Detroit, and then we service we create a store or whatever mobile truck in each one of those cities and provide produce in those nodes so we can feed our community and again start the whole thing of being sustainable in those areas in Michigan. Uh, the Latino farmers, I mean, they have the same challenges deal with the farm on the production side, but they're ready to sell any product they have. So, and plus the other part of us, the city of Detroit is the magnet every farmer, regardless of black or white, wants to get into. And we see how the politics work with that. If we get our food processing thing up, and depending on the products available, we want to offer it to small white farmers throughout the state as well to come through us so we can get the products in the neighborhood if that's the case. But again, they're secondary to trying to support ourselves. So that's really the big idea what we have. Now you see the three gold stars actually are, uh, you remember I mentioned 1890, 1862, 1890. Those are 1994, which is when Congress gave Native American schools designation for agriculture. And of course, and we have a lot of tribes in Michigan as well. So those are another population again that's having issues with food and food access, and we're gonna eventually work with them as well. The interesting thing I'll share with you on that, if you see the northern part of UP of Michigan, that's where most of the tribal nations are. And I guess if you know the history, white folks pushed them all out the main areas anyway. But the interesting thing I found out, even though all the tribes are located up north, their major population is in the city of Detroit. So the thing is, they will want their cultural foods down in the city of Detroit. So we want to help them create food system for their farmers, to bring stuff to the city of Detroit. And because that's my idea. I want to lead and assist them in doing that. But of course, we're going to start with ours first. But just give you some idea of what's going on. And I can tell you this whole food challenge thing is all across the country. You just got to figure out a method stand to do it. I'm hoping we can set up a pilot here that works in Michigan that we can use all the way across the country. And we want to work with everybody doing it as well. Now, now going back to talking about us black folks. Now, again, I just wanted to show you this is a map of where we're located in this country, the black population. Of course, you see the darker it is. But anyway, the key is I want you to kind of look and see up north. They show Detroit, Chicago, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These are where we're located. So think about it. This is where the food demand is. This is where we need to eat our cultural foods anyway. And so we need to figure out how do we need to try to figure out how to feed those people. This is a map of where the black farms are located. Of course, the same thing. We know most of them, you see, they're scattered, but most of them again centrally, heavily located down south. So, and again, with our experience, what we're finding out, again, those farmers down south have the capacity. So our question is, how do we support those farmers because they can't get in the markets right now? They aren't getting in the markets, but we have a huge market for them up here. So what we want to do is, how do we get their products in our up in the area where we on our market? So what we're proposing to try to do is create what I call micro value chain. We get the southern farmers either work together as a collaborative, whatever it is. Um, Create a food hub, like I was just showing, like what we do in Detroit, where they can bring all their stuff together, and then we track it, we bring it up north, and then we to bring it to a place like our hub, and then we distribute it to the market as well. Again, this is the same thing I just showed you we're doing locally in Detroit. Once we get that in place, we want now to do it regionally. We're going to bring product from down south through a network. Like I said, you see hubs in those are different cities to get it to where we think it needs to go or where it wants to go. And again, just my experience, whenever we sold product from farmers down south, it never lasts on the shelf. So I know if we get the product up there, we won't have a problem selling. So we just got to figure out how to get this system going. Now, this is again our proposed thing of how to just give me some idea how to create these food chains. Again, the one on the left is similar to what I just showed you on the previous chart. How it works, we gotta get the farmers to take the stuff to one place. So, say when a farmer, if they get it in the hub, they process it and they bring it up north. This is sort of a kind of a map I put it based on where we think the populations were, the farm populations, and those are cities we would put on our hub network to get the food up. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is no different than what UPS and FedEx is. It's the same thing. We're just talking about doing the food, and the major food companies, the Cisco, the US, are doing the same thing as well. They're just not doing it with a product with black farmers. So what we're saying is this is what we want to create get to one point, but once we get everybody on board, understand the significance of it, and we have to understand we're working together. This is what we want to try to do. We're in the early stages right now, trying to get a little bit of something moving from down south up north right now. talking with my colleagues in Chicago and in Cleveland. But right now, we still haven't figured out how to get all the pieces together, and we got to still figure out how we can get some support doing that, financial support, whether it's for government. And I can tell you right now, once the government finds we're doing this USDA, they're going to definitely try to cut back on their service because they don't want us to succeed in trying to do this. Nor the big corporations, but the big companies right now, I think they don't see it as a threat, so they may just ignore it right now. But I think, but eventually, if it starts working well, and my dream was to have this thing ready a couple of years ago. If we had this in place, we would have been done well through COVID. But unfortunately, again, we haven't because we haven't been able to get all the pieces together and the people, which is one of the reasons why I think it's very important that I come to an organization like this one and try to do a presentation. Now, this right here just showing you, just to give you an idea of what the actual food supply chain is right now. What I just showed you is what I want to do for us. This is the one that's going on right now using all the major farms. And if you see where it's dark, those are like in California, those are all the farms, the probably Latino farm, the white farm, the major farms that are servicing. You see that stuff is coming to the Midwest, and you see the stuff coming from down south, and really, what those are ports. They're coming from shipping ports. So this is the way stuff is going. Now, a lot of stuff too, I can tell you, is probably being imported as well. When you see it coming from New Orleans or I guess Galveston, but the stuff coming from Texas is coming from Mexico. It's coming from Mexico too. But you see how most of the stuff is moving, but it's moving from south to north. We're just talking about doing the same thing, but on a much smaller scale to get to support our farmers. But even though it's a much smaller scale, it's going to make a huge impact of the economy within our communities. Now, the other piece of all this stuff, and again, I call it what do you call it, the on the bucket list, technology. Technology, just like everywhere else, and actually, I think technology is going to be one of the essential things too for human thing on that shirt I showed you. It's everywhere. Everybody knows it's crazy. But in for black farmers, we are way behind. Again, keep in mind, if I'm dealing with farmers in my age, we're in the 60s or 70s, in the late in the what the baby boomer generation or beyond, this technology stuff is fine, but they're not going to grasp it. However, millennials and right above that, you guys are grasping technology just like that. So all I'm saying is all the technology you use on your phone right now, it just needs to be implemented in farming. And it is being implemented, if you can see it implemented in farming, but we're not being part of it. And that's what I'm saying. We need to get more engaged on what's going on, which is why you heard me mention something about doing research, because between getting those universities involved, getting our techies, our techsters out there right now involved, getting our new farmers out there involved. This is the stuff we need to start getting involved with. And I can tell you there's a lot of funding behind this if we can get the right things in place to support, not only because we're saying we're doing this to support black farmers, the funding is there. All we got to do is show what we're doing and what we need to do. But I'm telling you, we need just for the farms we have. If we can get folks to help us use some of that technology you see on there, like on the right, that'd be great. The technology you see on the left, pretty much as far as urban farming, because everybody's saying now we don't have enough space, so we got to be able to grow a whole lot more in smaller spaces. Where that's where the other piece of the other phase of urban farming I see us getting involved with. But anyway, I'm just showing you this thing to show you all the technology is going on. We have to get involved with this. I've always been a person interested in not only the implementation but also research, and I strongly advise us to start looking at this once we start getting our system in place. If we create that food system I just showed before and start implementing stuff, I think it'd be beautiful. And we'll be a threat. And then this is I guess the ultimate thing that's going on now with technology, this whole blockchain. And you know if you heard it before or not, but that bottom line with this is get to a point there when that food gets to that store, and when they get to that store, a consumer can pull out his phone, hit that UPC code, and they'll be able to tell him get tell like I said on this example, the chicken, what chicken it came from, and when it was hatched, when it was hatched and processed and everything else. So the whole idea is it gets that detail. And quiet as it kept, a lot of people don't know it, but Walmart and Kroger are already trying to use this kind of technology in moving food around. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff out here that we need to be learning, and a lot of stuff we need to get on. And I see this stuff every day, and I say we got a long way to go. So first of all, like I said, let's create the collaboration, working with each other. Let's create the food networks. Then let's start implementing this technology because it's here and it's going to keep going, and we just have to figure out how to keep up with it. Now, going back as I talk about research, these are the organizations that I potentially like to work with. Hopefully, as a team, we can work with across the country. Because that Alcorn thing was just recently established, but it's more of a research on farmers and anything else, but not so much on the technology side. But everybody out there, if you start talking about doing these things, and you see how this value chain, blockchain, food system, which is my area, those are niche. I'm using words or niche areas again that I know that if we start working in and start collaborating on, we'll get people to want to work with us on. We have a lot. Again, we have a lot to learn. We have a lot to do. So we need to get on it and start looking at for these potential types of collaboration. I'm actually, like I said, I mentioned Central State. I'm looking at some other things as well with us, but like again, we have to move beyond. We're trying to get beyond getting our pilot thing going, so we can do stuff on a regional, national, and international level. Again, I just wanted to show you. I told you about the 1890 schools. I just want these are all of them on there. Interesting enough, you see Central State's not on it because they've been recently just put on there. But these are all the schools that have been designated land grant, black colleges where they're doing agriculture. That somehow I know they don't work with each other, but they're there. If we talk about doing work with farmers in those particular areas, maybe we can get them to help us as we try to create the networks and things going. On the right, I showed you the 1890s, and I mentioned CSU because they weren't on the thing before. Now, 1862, when they did 1862, and I shared with you, two of the schools were already people of color. That's the University of Virgin Islands, the University of Puerto Rico. So they are considered 1862, but yet, they hang out with 1890 because it's all, it's all the same. Then I told you 1994 are the schools that have just been created by for Native American. So anyway, just give me some idea, just a little bit. If you didn't know, just give me an idea where it comes from, and that's where we're trying to pursue to work with our folks. Again, we keep talking sustainability. We have to. We have to figure out what works best for us. Now on this page, this is what I've identified, and maybe more. These are the key black agriculture slash food organizations that are out there. Now, I've gone to get on my research. I tried to go to everybody. I think most of them I've gone to at least one of their conferences. I tried to see what was going on, to see what was going to see what kind of information I get. And there are pluses and minuses. One, I like the idea that these groups are organized. What I don't like about them, none of them support none of the others. So in other words, you go to one event, they might not even know about the other, et cetera, et cetera. And again, this is the issue we have in our community that everybody we create these things and everybody works in a silo, but nobody wants to work together. And my thing is, if we get this network I'm sharing with you all in here, because nobody else has it, nobody else knows about it, and I'm proposing to get it done. But the whole idea is to move forward and then have all these groups. If they want to get involved, then they got to figure out how we're going to bring them along where they all have to work together again, because we all one community, and that's the only way we're going to get things done. We got to work together. So anyway, so yeah, that's that. And again, just go back to our overall objectives here. Educate our community on healthy living by providing them access to healthy foods and healthy food businesses. Empower our neighborhoods and communities economically by establishing and supporting healthy food enterprises. Yeah, demonstrate the ability to collaborate. Again, we were talking about our farmers and develop a resilient network of sustainable, healthy food enterprises. And then lastly, connect with ag food interests globally to empower the African diaspora and become economically sustainable. Again, if we can create the network here, the thing it can span across the country. I've already had discussions with folks, and I'm understanding everybody has the same challenge in regards where you go. Once we get this thing go moving here, it won't be a problem trying to get it work elsewhere. And keep in mind, the bottom line, we're trying to educate our people on healthy living, but at the same time teaching them the economics. Everybody's gonna all the grants and stuff here in urban. Again, I got to tell you about community gardens. Everybody out here will talk to you about healthy food, but they're not talking about how you can make money. They're not talking about the economic piece of it. So food access is talked about, but not food economics, and that's the piece that I keep emphasizing that you saw earlier that we need to be looking at. Finally, the phrase they go by: give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. We need to teach each other how to fish. That's what we got to be doing, and stop letting the powers that be give you a fish. But we need to know how. We need to teach our folks how to fish so we can take care of ourselves. And finally, I say if you're involved or engaged in any kind of food economics in your community, please feel free to contact me. I love to talk to people. I want to collaborate. What we're doing in Michigan, my idea is again, we need to take it in every state where we have people of color, our folks, so we can create this great network that I just shared with you, and and that's about it. So again, I appreciate your time. Let me put my picture up there so you guys see who I am. Yeah, there you go. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate this opportunity. I look forward for the dialogue and discussion. And again, there's my contact information there. And everybody have a excellent night.
I'm gonna show it.